Welcome back, boxing fans. Another great show with Sean on boxing. Tonight, we're talking about Devin, the Dream Haney, and WBO welterweight world champion Greg Norman. Not Greg Norman. Uh, I can't even think of Norman's fucking first name. Brian Norman Jr. Sorry, it escaped my head for a minute. Obviously, this fight has been the talk of the town this week during podcast, I think with Ness, the two fathers got at it, and obviously this fight was proposed. If you believe the rumors that are being speculated, it was brought up by Turki Al-Sheikh as a possible fight. Obviously, we know that Devin Haney's fights have been sort of falling off. The Ryan Garcia fight obviously fell off because Ryan Garcia got beat by Rolly Romero. Apparently, Rolly Romero was not interested in the Devin Haney fight. Then the next opponent was a potential Teofimo Lopez, who obviously was also on that card. So it seemed like that was an obvious replacement for Ryan Garcia, and it would have been a great fight. The problem there is one guy wants to fight at 147, one guy wants to fight at 140 or at a catch weight. So the question is, do either guys really want the fight? And probably in that case, you'd have to lean more towards Teofimo Lopez being the clout chaser, because generally that's what he always does. So, we got to sort of give credit where credit's due. Probably the guy who was more interested in making that fight was obviously Devin the Dream Haney, who was in a position where he's looking for a big opponent. We know that he was offered very little money to fight his mandatory for the WBC, which led to him dropping the title and basically getting into a bit of an argument and feud with Matchroom's Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn and them did not want to pay to make that fight. As they don't need to. They don't promote Devin Haney, so they're under no obligation to actually promote and fund his fights. So the question was, what exactly was Devin Haney going to do next, right? Obviously, there was some speculation about maybe fighting Hitchens, who literally called him out post-fight. So that was the most logical fight, and the fight that most people kind of felt would happen, right? Especially with the big call out from Hitchens, right? You call a guy out right after your big win on national TV, and you throw out curse words to basically criticize and hate on him, only for that fight to really go fucking nowhere. And then, of course, the Brian Norman fight pops off. And right now, this week, that's what we're talking about. Brian Norman, Devin Haney, we're going to get into it. Look at the guys' resumes and what they've done in their career. We're going to talk about what people's predictions are regarding this fight. How do they feel? Who do they think potentially is going to win, and why? And who do they favor? So Jay Cool's in the house. Got to respect Haney for trying to get in the ring with these guys. Welcome back. Right on time again. Teo could have fought Brian Norman. Well, yes, that was also a fight that was offered to Teo as well, an in-house top-ranked fight. But the money for that wasn't going to be that big. Teo ultimately is trying to get a fight where Turki Al-Sheikh is going to pay. Hence the reason why he was chasing after that Jerron Boots Ennis fight. But who even knows if he was very interested or just doing Teo and clout chasing. The problem with a lot of these young guys is they're so fucking busy on social media and so inactive in the ring. Who's to believe anything these fucking guys have to say? Salute J.A. So let's take a quick look at these guys' resumes right now. Wayne Evans, what's up? Oh my God, I can't see nothing. Hold on, let me change. There we go. So we scroll down. Devin Haney should be somewhere, number 11. So Devin Haney right now, 26 years old, 32-0, 15 KOs, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Devin Haney has good measurements for a welterweight, really good measurements, obviously, for a lightweight. Not bad for a 140-pound fighter. Not really very good for a 154-pound fighter. Even though he's a very broad kid, he's pretty big. I think right now, ultimately, he's going to be making his name at 147 pounds. And the question is with him, his chin, his overall toughness, and his lack of power. and how this potentially could hurt him at the 147-pound division. Obviously, at 135, we saw that, it came up in conversation when you're fighting much smaller fighters. But now you move up two divisions and you're fighting bigger fighters, harder punchers, more resilient dudes. And then you would expect that potentially this is going to be even bigger of a problem. We saw two examples of him fighting bigger fighters, one versus Ryan Garcia, where Ryan Garcia's power really, really affected Devin Haney. And then, of course, with Ramirez, that fight, we didn't really see a Devin Haney that engaged. He held a lot. He ran a lot. He did not engage very much in that fight. Lowest fucking punch numbers fucking in history until, of course, the William Skull Canelo Alvarez fight. So that's not much to hang your hat off of. Some people like Tim Bradley and others think that potentially he has a bit of PTSD based on the Ryan Garcia fight, which isn't hate. That is a real possibility. It's the same way we brought up the possibility that potentially Errol Spence had a similar situation after his near-death car crash. When these kind of things happen, you need to be respectful and understand that this could be an issue. It might not be an issue, but it could be, right? And a guy like Tim Bradley, he fucking knows firsthand, because after that Ruslan fight, he literally had to deal with that shit. And so when he comes out and talks about that, he's not coming from a place of hate. He's talking from a place of experience. But some people are going to always twist shit because that's what they do. I hope it's real talk from Haney. I respect Haney if he's actually trying to fight Norman, even though I think he gets slept. Something tells me he really wants to fight the winner of Pacquiao versus Barrios. Well, that would be the money fight, right? And he already talked about trying to get a fight with Barrios before. So you could see that originally was the direction him and his team were moving towards. If he fights Norman, he deserves respect, for sure. Excuse me. Like even the Lomachenko fight. I know some people want you to see that people hate on Devin Haney because of the whole Lomachenko fight and he doesn't get respect for it. That's not the fucking truth. People respect Devin Haney for taking the fight. They also respected Devin Haney for going to Australia, taking low money to fight Kambosos twice down under. What people don't respect is the bad judging, 3 American judges in Vegas, when we've seen this fucking go against the Eastern European fighter. And most people feel that's exactly what happened in the Lomachenko fight. With the Kambosos fight and other fights like Gamboa and others, the question was, the dude just doesn't have any fucking power. He can't get dudes out, right? And the question is, what's he going to do when he fights better opponents and his lack of power can't earn their respect, right? And at 147, this is more of an issue than it was at 135. And people respected his win versus Prograis. He got tons of respect for the victory over Prograis. Tons. So, of course, people want to make this into some race hustle and talk a load of shit. The irony is the people saying this are some of the most disrespectful fucking people on YouTube, right? So how can you ever believe anything they say? Because they're complete fucking hypocrites. But let's move forward. Garden snake mentality in the house. If Devin's team really tried to fight Tio and Norman, I got to give him his props. Bill Haney hurts his son with a lot of the fans because of his mouth. And it's not just Bill Haney. I say this consistently, and it has nothing to do with black fathers. It's just big mouth fathers. Whether we're talking about Danny Garcia's dad, Robert Guerrero's fucking dad, Devin Haney's dad. I mean, the amount of big mouth fucking fathers out there that are trying to fucking cap off their son's glory because, unfortunately for them, they were never successful in athletics. So they try to get their attention from their sons. But boxing fans don't give a fuck about you guys. I don't care what Bill Haney has to say. Literally, I don't care. I never listen to a Bill Haney fucking interview because there's nothing coming out of his mouth that fucking I'm interested in. Nothing. If I want to know a fight's getting made, that shit will post up on fucking social media. I don't need to listen to Devin Haney's dad. I don't need to listen to fucking Tio's dad. I don't need to listen to any of those fucking guys. That weigh-in was so suspicious. Shout out to the Dream for daring to be great. Well, silly ass. We got to wait till that fight is signed, sealed, and delivered. And at that point, we can give him credit. But for now, this is all speculation. And we've seen tons of fights involving Devin Haney go through speculation. Remember that Gary Russell fucking fight, which was all over fucking, Twitter force in huge fucking response, right? This is the same Devin Haney that ducked Shakur to go fight Regis Prograis. I mean, there's reason to praise him, but there's always reason to be critical, like we are with other fighters. I saw somebody literally shit on Lomachenko because he ducked Tank Davis and he ducked Shakur Stevenson. But yet Shakur Stevenson has never fought an elite fighter in his career, and neither has Tank Davis. Lomachenko has fought several. So to say he's a duck is ridiculous, considering you're talking about dudes who've never stepped up and taken on anyone in their careers. Shakur priced himself out. That's what a Devin Haney fan would say, right? That's exactly what a Devin Haney fan would say. These dudes will fucking cap like crazy to blow fucking Devin Haney. That's why you can't believe any of these fanboys, because they're not fucking down the middle. They're complete fanboys. Everything they say is ridiculous. It's like talking to Mirage about fucking David Benavidez. I'll tell you what, though. Bill knows exactly how to manipulate the YouTube minions. Well, only fucking the LDBC minions. They always find a way to twist the narrative in Dev's favor. Yeah, the LDBC. The same way they did with fucking Deontay Wilder. And this is the same thing fucking Knockout Boxing does with Tank Davis. These dudes are consistently fucking manipulating the narrative to fucking fanboy for the fighter they dick ride. And if you can't see through that, I gotta ask, what kind of IQ do you have? Because apparently it's not fucking very high if you are so easily manipulated by people you know are only doing this to fucking get a paycheck. Regis was more dangerous than Shakur, plus Haney had to move up. No, nobody in history would ever say that Regis Prograis was more dangerous than Shakur Stevenson. He was never as good as Shakur on any fucking level. Not as an amateur, and fucking sure not as a fucking pro. Come on. Regis Prograis was fucking a glimpse in time that was very short-lived, right? The dude's, most of his resume is fucking trash. Most of his resume. It's got a few bright spots, and that guy fucking aged out fucking way too quick and ducked 147 pounds his whole career because he didn't want to go up and fight legitimate fucking fighters. He wanted to weight bully smaller dudes. But Devin Haney took the fight and fucking schooled him and exposed him for what he was. Shakur, the poor man's dream. See, you can keep saying this, but you just look fucking ridiculous. So I won't even read your comments, but everybody else can just see how stupid you really are. Do you give some praise to Loma to fight all those top fighters that were much bigger? Washed Regis was never an elite fighter. Never. Poor man's dream. Laugh my ass out. But that's what you get from fucking fanboy channels and fanboy fucking people. But let's go through Devin Haney's resume. His resume is pretty good, considering he's only 26 years old. There's no need to hate on his resume. The way he's moved pretty much through his career has been pretty good. Let's go to the first fight that really sort of stepped up and caught people's attention. And that was when he fought Mason Menard. 33-2, very experienced. Obviously not a great fighter, but nonetheless, you're fighting a guy much more experienced than you. You went in there and you stopped him in 9 rounds. Then you fought rugged fucking stepping stone, Juan Carlos Burgos. Went 10 rounds with him, beat him. And then the fight that I really respected him for was against South African fighter Jolane Dongeni, right, who was an undefeated fighter, very skilled, very athletic, and he went in there and beat him easily, right? It wasn't even competitive. 2 boxers. Devin Haney was much better than him. That was the beginning and the end of the South African. Then he faced Antonio Moran, scored a sensational 7th round KO, was getting a lot of attention at this point, and then faced Zaur Abdurev for some fucking interim title. Interim being the key word. Stopped him in 4 rounds. It was a sensational fucking fight. This streak right here of 3 fights, Devin Haney was really rising and getting a ton of attention. And then at this point, people started using him to shit on Lomachenko, right? At this point, he hadn't fought anybody that was really a great fighter. It's even questionable if Zaur Abduraev was really a top 10 fighter, but let's say he was. He was the only top 10 fighter that Devin Haney had fought. And at this point, being a fucking prospect who just finally started to be top 10 competition, to act as if Lomachenko, who was going to be fighting an undisputed unification fight with fucking Teofimo Lopez, was somehow ducking him, this is the problem. But this is the same thing we see constantly. People that just need to fucking make a narrative to hate on non-black fighters. So they will continuously expose themselves all the time. Haney picked Regis after he looked washed, and also other fighters. Well, he did pick Regis after he looked washed. The fight prior to fighting Devin, Regis basically lost to fucking, a Dominican fighter that, should not have fucking been able to go the 10 rounds or 12 rounds with him. Regis looked absolutely washed in that fight before Haney agreed. Haney beat Regis like never seen before. That's true. He did. Where are we? So let's go through. After that, he fought Alfredo Santiago, a good win, but Santiago less experienced than Devin Haney. Then he fought Gamboa, who just got beaten by Tank Davis, stopped in the 12th round by Tank Davis, right? So you fight this opponent, you beat him convincingly, but Gamboa was washed before he fought Tank Davis. Literally, you're fighting a 40-year-old dude who hasn't been relevant for 7 years when he fought fucking Bud Crawford. He just got beat by Tank Davis and stopped in the 12th round, and now you fight him. How much credit can you get? I mean, it's name recognition for a young fighter, but that's what it is. Then he fought Linares. And the irony in the Linares fight is Linares was being talked about as a potential Ryan Garcia fight, right? And literally people were hating on Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, who was not a world champion, right? Not considered an interim world champion, had never fought for any type of world title before. But him fighting a multiple weight world champion in Linares, coming down from 140, somehow was seen as a cherry pick. And then what does Devin Haney do? Devin Haney fucking grabs Linares, ends up getting hurt, fucking holding on for dear life, and people act as if Devin Haney was fucking great against the guy they were calling a cherry pick against Ryan Garcia. See, that's the problem when people push out these kind of fake news narratives. It blows up in your face. If you're calling him a cherry pick for Ryan Garcia, a fighter who's not as accomplished as Devin Haney, and then Devin Haney goes in there and looks fucking dodgy as fuck, holding on for dear life, right, on Bambi legs, you make yourself look bad because now you just took any credit away from that Linares win because you demolished, downplayed, and destroyed Linares as a top opponent. We can go back even farther and think about when Lomachenko moved up from 130 to fight Linares in his first fight. Linares, who was making his 7th title defense, and people called him a cherry pick then. So he's a cherry pick when he's a 7-fight world champion, but he's not a cherry pick when Devin Haney fights him. And I'm not trying to hate on his resume. As I said, I think his resume was good, especially for a guy that's young and trying to develop and build up. Then he fought Joseph Diaz, solid victory, ex-world champion at 130. Then faced George Kambosos 2 times in a row. At this point, he was at the highest point of his career, right? Considered an undisputed champion, even though the only champion he'd beaten was George Kambosos. So, I mean, you won the undisputed, but let's be fair. It's ironic that guys like John Boxing want to say that guys, only fighting for belts, that doesn't mean anything. The question is, who did you fight? Well, if you use that logic with regards to Devin Haney, the question was, he didn't fight anyone. George Kambosos, right? Unlike Haney, who fought 4 world champions to win titles at 118 pounds, and then 2 world champions, unified world champions, to become undisputed at 122. Devin Haney fought George Kambosos. He did do what he had to do, though, which was take on Vasily Lomachenko. Got the victory, but in a very controversial fight. And that's just the truth. When you look at these judges, Harvey Dock, American. Tim Cheatham, American. Dave Moretti, American. David Sutherland, American. You ask yourself, how exactly is an American fighting in Las Vegas against the Ukrainian, but everybody involved in the scoring is fucking American, right? Because that would never happen anywhere in the world except for America. Tell me I'm lying. I know John will come out, make a video trying to fucking say I'm hating on Devin Haney and try to, say this is not a true narrative. Oh, speak of the devil, there he is. A Cambosis who beat Tio. Yeah, I didn't dismiss. I said him going to Australia got people's attention and it was a great thing. See, once again, John, you expose yourself. I didn't hate on the Cambosis victories at all. I said he did what he had to do going to Australia, taking less money, fighting Cambosis there. The question about it that always comes up with Evan Haney this part of his career was he didn't show the power that showed that he'd be able to adjust to bigger weight classes. And that still holds today. That's why you, for one, are picking fucking Norman to beat him, right? You, who's a Devin Haney fucking fanboy. But yet you feel Norman is going to beat him because you know Devin Haney doesn't have the power to hurt or keep Norman off of him. And that's what we've been saying for a long time. And this isn't hate towards Devin Haney. Any soft punching fighter who's very skilled but doesn't have power to keep guys honest is always going to have this issue. People said that about Bivol. People said that about fucking Usyk. This has been a common theme when talking about slick fighters who haven't shown a lot of power. But once again, people can't be fair because they're too fucking caught up in some sort of, fanboyism. Linares made the whole LDBC shit their pants in the 10th round. Ryan weight bullied Haney and used Austrian. But the point wasn't anything to do with that. The point was when Devin Haney moved up to bigger weight classes, his chin, which was fragile at 135, was exposed at 145 catch weight. The question is, how's he going to fight when he fights real legitimate welterweights? Ryan Garcia is not a legitimate welterweight, right? And you can say he was a weight bully. No, nobody's a weight bully over Devin Haney. Devin Haney on fight night was just as big, if not bigger, than Ryan Garcia. The dude always blows up in fucking weight. He's a big dude. He ain't small. He ain't being taken advantage of in the ring. Haney has the weakest undisputed run and email belt in the C-level Cambosis. Yeah, and John Boxing, based on these victories against Cambosis, had Devin Haney pound for pound top 10 because he was undisputed, right? The problem with guys like John is when a black fighter is undisputed, he should be fucking right in the top 5 pound for pound. Yet if it's a non-black fighter that's undisputed, like a Nui, then he finds reasons to shit on him, downplay him, and say he's just fighting for belts. He's just fighting for belts. So the other guys that are undisputed aren't doing that. See, once again, exposing himself for his fucking skewed logic. You got to keep the shit fucking straight across the board. No one's hating on Devin Haney, but when you compare his run to all the other fighters that were undisputed, his run clearly is the weakest. Does that diminish it? No, he still did something most fighters will never do in boxing. That is obviously a huge fucking credit on his career. Fighting Prograis, fighting Loma, fighting Cambosis, great fights, huge credit. Even Linares, who people don't want to give Lomachenko credit for, was a great fight as well for him. And if he fights Norman at 147, it's a huge fucking fight, even though Norman is not really a well-established fighter at this point. He's an up-and-comer, but he hasn't done anything really to establish himself as a future great. Maybe he will. But at this point, Devin Haney's resume, Devin Haney's accomplishments far supersede Norman. Norman's 2 years younger than Haney. So in 2 years, we could talk about this and see that maybe the story will be completely different. Cheat is a name, and you can't make that shit up. I wonder if John will start getting his excuses ready as he's doing for Bud. Man, but that's it, right? He making excuses all the time. Like, he wants Canelo to fight David Benavidez, but David Benavidez is bigger than Canelo, far more than Canelo is bigger than Bud. But that doesn't matter because the whole weight bully shit only matters when John can twist it into some sort of racial narrative. I mean, if David Benavidez was chasing after some great black fighter, John would be calling him a fucking weight bully like crazy, like he did to Zerto. Good morning, Sean. Keep up the good work. Salutes for my job in New Jersey. In both of them were middleweight. That night, it's just that one of. Hey, Sean, can you explain to me why John demands Canelo face Benavidez, but called Benavidez a weight bully when he whooped Andrade? There you go, proving my point, right? When it's a black fighter that's facing him, of course Benavidez is a weight bully. But when it's a fighter he wants to get beat, like Canelo, he's not going to keep the same energy. The same way he loved Lopez when he wanted Lopez to beat fucking Lomachenko. The same way he loved fucking Canelo when he wanted Canelo to beat Golovkin. The same way he loved Danui when he wanted Danui to beat Roman Gonzalez. The dude's history is right there for everyone to see. Right, John? Like, you exposed yourself years ago, and you do it every day. And no matter what you say about other people, it doesn't deflect that you're just accusing them of exactly what you do. By having all black pound for pound fighters, you're the one using identity fucking politics, not other people. When I have Inui or Manny Pacquiao or Canelo Alvarez as a pound for pound fighter, that has no identity politics with me. I'm not Filipino. I'm not Mexican. I'm not Japanese. Roman Gonzalez, I ain't fucking Latino. Right? You are the one that's caught up in fucking racial politics where it has to be a black fighter because the world can't be right unless it's black. Where are we? But even all the Devons could have walked out the winner of that split decision if he kept that right hand up. Expose him, Sean. Loma was a weight bully versus Rigo, but Spence wasn't a weight bully versus Mikey Garcia. Exactly. Once again. And he will twist it and not even use the time. The fact that Spence Mikey happened before Lomachenko Rigo. Or was it the opposite? I can't even remember. But time doesn't matter. Like when people were talking about how Klitschko was an old man when AJ beat him. But then when, of course, Wilder beat fucking old man fucking River Ortiz, then people are acting like, oh, people are hating on Ortiz, calling him old. No. Wilder's fans said that about AJ's opponent years before Wilder fought Ortiz, right? So if you're going to fucking use a time frame, you got to keep it in order to show who started it and how it's moved down the line from there, because that's important. You can't use a narrative 5 years later and then talk about 5 years before when you're talking about everything out of fucking context. LDC, what's LDC about your pound for pound list? Oh, you don't care. Well, that's fine, John. So then why are you making videos literally responding to my fucking video about pound for pound lists, getting in your emotions because fucking Bud Crawford is not number one? With you, Bud Crawford got to be number one or it's racist. But yet Bud Crawford doesn't need to fight somebody 50 pounds heavier than him who's 6 inches taller with a fucking 8-inch reach, longer reach. Right? I mean, what Usyk is doing is something that is historic. You might not like Usyk. I'm not a big fan stylistically of Usyk. I prefer Bud Crawford stylistically. But I can be honest, unlike you. Like when I think my fighters potentially are going to lose, example, Mario Barros, Manny Pacquiao, I can be honest and say I think Pacquiao's going to get fucking schooled by Mario Barros. Does that mean Mario Barros is a better fighter than Pacquiao? No. Pacquiao's 46 fucking years old. But I can be honest. I don't need to fucking lie and twist narratives to fucking push some race agenda like you. Yes, you do. Yes, he does. Crawford is great, but he is fourth behind Usyk, Inui, and Bivol. Well, I can understand putting Bivol in front of him. A lot of people push that now. And after his victories, obviously over Canelo, Zerto, and Beterbiev, all three fighters who really are pound for pound. That's something Crawford hasn't done, right? If you look at his most significant fights of his career, it's going to be who? Madrimov, Spence, Postal, right? they're not comparable to what Bivol has done over a very short period of time. Obviously, Bud Crawford's got a much longer legacy than Bivol has and far more accomplishments. But then again, John says what's more important is who you fight, not the belts, right, John? So if that's the case, then you shouldn't be putting Bud Crawford so high because he doesn't have those names on his list. He doesn't have all those pound for pound opponents, not like Bivol. But on my list, I got Crawford number 2. I got a Newey number 3, Bivol number 4, Better BF number 5, right? I think my list is one of the best pound for pound lists in boxing because it's not based on fucking fanboyism. I gave my fighters I like to watch list. That's based on my fanboyism. Fighters that I prefer to watch stylistically. But it has nothing to do with pound for pound. Then scalp makes the difference. Them scalps make a difference. And that's what John says, but John only uses that when he's trying to downplay and dismiss non-black fighters. Because if you're going to use that to describe any black fighter today, probably the guy you could use the best would be Devin Haney. Because outside of really, Bud Crawford, Devin Haney, what other fighter has a lot of great scalps on his name? Black American fighters, that is. And this doesn't diminish and say there's not a lot of great Black American fighters. I literally heard someone shitting on Top Rank and fanboying for the PBC and saying how the PBC will be better. Oh, it was Fannin. Would be better on ESPN than Top Rank because they would highlight black fighters more than ESPN. Which fucking promotional company today highlights more black fighters than fucking ESPN? ESPN 100% has more black fighters on their cards than any other fucking promoter out there. Any. Way more than the PBC. The PBC's cards are primarily fucking Mexican. Right? So, Fannin is stupid. Stupid as fuck. So, who can believe anything that fucking guy says? Stringer from above, facts. But let's move through and just finish Devin Haney's resume, and let's take a look at obviously Norman, whose resume is not even close to being as good as Devin Haney's. Then, of course, he fought Regis, and we do know Regis' performance before fighting Haney was very bad. It was a very poor performance against a slick fighter. That's why the majority of us predicted that Devin Haney was going to beat him because he struggled with fucking Zorilla, a guy that's 17-1. And he scraped a split decision victory, which most people felt he lost. And the only reason he got the victory is because Devin Haney was next, right? And then he fought Jack Catterall and got beat in that fight. So, I mean, the writing is on the wall. Wars versus Zepeda and some other guys early on in his career against Josh Taylor and Kier Relic. A lot of those fights aged because, truthfully, he had short arms. He didn't have fast feet. He didn't have a great boxing style. He was a power puncher, a counter puncher, right? Perfect for a boxer. And Devin Haney fucking exposed him. Then he fought Ryan. Obviously, this fight turned into a no contest. We know why. But the reality is he did look like fucking that left hand could not miss. That's the only reason people gave Ramirez any shot against him. People wondered if he stood in there and tried to fight with Ramirez, if he was going to get clipped by a left hand, what was going to happen to him. Luckily, he didn't do that. He ran for the fight, landed less than fucking 150 punches, won an easy decision, but one of the most boring fights of 2025. And now potentially he's going to fight Brian Norman Jr. Let's take a look at Brian Norman. Obviously, I don't know if Brian Norman is ranked anywhere on these pound-for-pound lists. Oh, there he is, number 20. Brian Norman, 28-0, 22 KOs, 24 years old, 5'8", so he's 1 inch shorter than Devin Haney, 72-inch reach. So he got 1 inch reach advantage over Devin Haney. I think in ring night, fight night, Devin Haney is going to be the bigger fighter than Brian Norman physically. Wider shoulders, going to balloon up and put on more weight. You will find out. But that power means something. Literally those 22 knockouts, almost a 80% knockout ratio. That shit's impressive. And we saw the knockout that Jin Sasaki got. Left hand. That left hand's got to make fucking Devin Haney fans nervous as fuck. nervous as fuck. Like when I look at this fight, I think really the only way Devin Haney can win is if he literally fights the way he fought with Ramirez. If he fights like that, potentially he can outbox and win a boring decision against Brian Norman. But if he does that, obviously it's a great win on his resume. But the question is, who the fuck is going to pay to watch him fight any more fights if that's the style he adopts, right? You can be effective. You can win against top level guys, become champions. But if you're literally boring fucking people and fighting a style with no engagement, inevitably boxing fans are going to do what they did to many fighters. They're going to ignore you and they're not going to fucking give you any attention. They're just going to fucking move past you. Teal, the crackback, was literally crying about how much promotion the black fighters were getting on ESPN. ESPN is the best promotional company for black American fighters. Easily. But they still get shit on and called racist. Explain that to me. What up, Roy? Norman is a violent boxer, but Norman lacks the ring coverage and will need to get in close. That's true. That's why I say if Devin Haney fights like he did against Ramirez, I can see him finding a way to win in that fight. But he will lose in winning, right? Let's be honest. He'll lose in winning if that's what he does to win. Because that's not what fucking Turkey's going to pay for. And that's not what boxing fans want to see. Pound for pound the best. You can't delete comments here, bud. That would be the last time he'd take a Turkey card. Or he may fight Brian Norman the way he fought Regis. But you can't compare Regis to fucking Norman. Regis was old, slow feet, short arms. Let's go back and, let's dissect John's discussion right here. Because I'm not hating. We're going to use fucking straight facts and reality to fucking look at these things. I mean, Regis was coming off of a piss poor performance against a boxer, which most people feel he lost. Norman is coming off of a fucking sensational knockout performance on the road in Japan, which is not an easy thing to do. Regis Prograis, there he is. 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. 67 inches. So Devin Haney's got a 71-inch reach. So he's got 4 inches reach over fucking Regis Prograis. Norman has a 5-inch reach advantage over Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis' knockout percentage is a shade better than Norman. But he's 36 years old. Norman is 24. You're talking about an old fucking war-torn fighter with slow feet and short arms who's a counter puncher compared to a 24-year-old who's on top of the world, is fucking longer and potentially might have faster hands than Devin Haney, something Regis Prograis definitely did not fucking have. So he's not going to fight fucking him like he fought Regis Prograis. No fucking chance in hell do I see that happening. But you guys let me know in the comment section below. If you think Haney is going to fight Brian Norman, what do you think would be his best bet in winning that fight? When are you going to break down Deontay Wilder's resume? I'm interested in talking about his first 40 fights. He won't do that. He's too busy hating on fucking Roman Gonzalez's fucking resume. He must loathe the fact that he can't delete comments here. Black folks can't get out of their own way. Black folks can play games but can't play the game, sadly. I'm talking about in terms of style. Yeah, in terms of style. You're fighting a fighter that is 12 years younger than Regis Prograis, taller and longer, with better feet, a better boxer, with almost as much of a knockout percentage as him, in a weight class 4 pounds bigger. I mean, I would suggest the last thing fucking Devin Haney wants to do is fight Norman the way he fought Regis Prograis. Prograis turned into Lipinets really quick. Box, hug, and hope for the best. Exactly. Box behind a jab. When you get him in a position, let your hands go. When he tries to counter, fucking tie him up. And then do it all over again. It's ugly. People ain't going to like it. But that's a way to win. And at the end of the day, Winning is what matters more than anything else. Norman also throws tight punches instead of wide hooks. Also true. Haney has a mobile jab and will circle Norman, but Norman has mobile power and should eventually catch Haney. No, 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 my friend. Haney is going to run and hug and try to finesse himself into some sort of decision. Norman is way more dangerous than a shot Jose Ramirez. Well, that's true too. Ramirez, who never did anything at 147 pounds. Regis Prograis, who never did anything at 147 pounds. And as I'm saying here, Devin Haney has more accomplishments. Devin Haney on fight night, I think, will be physically bigger than Norman. Devin Haney has more experience. Devin Haney has the better fucking record, better resume. But that doesn't necessarily amount to anything when we talk about styles. Because at the end of the day, styles do make fights. Not that I don't think Devin Haney can win. I told you how I think Devin Haney can win. But I don't know if that's the kind of win that Devin Haney and his father want, right? If you're going on Turkey card in Saudi Arabia to basically pull a William Skull to try to get a victory over an unknown fighter, because Norman is not a big name fighter, even though John tried to make him sound like he's some superstar now in boxing. No, he's still an unknown fucking fighter. Nobody watched him in Japan because it was fucking 6 o'clock in the morning, midweek. Nobody knows who that fucking guy is. He's not a big draw. So you're fighting him in Saudi Arabia because that's the way you can make a dangerous fight financially fucking doable, financially viable. But if you go in there and fucking fight ugly and box and just try to steal a victory, you're not going to get another fucking Turkey Al Sheikh fucking payday. So then you're going to have to do what? Sign with PBC? You already burnt bridges with ESPN. You basically burnt bridges with fucking Matchroom. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight unfolds if it is made. John says, I'm saying Devin can't win a fight on his back foot because Norman is very good at cutting off the ring. Well, who has Norman fought that was a good mover? So far, he hasn't fought anyone that was a boxer. And we'll look at that because we're looking at his resume right now. But you're jumping in and supplanting that before we get to it. Devin will have to fight Brian the same way he fought Regis. Sean, what do you think about Turkey wanting Berlanga Zepeda about KOs? Well, I don't know what he warned them about KOs. Like, he said that he wanted Shakur and, of course, Hamza Shiraz to win because he had big plans for them moving forward. But that's not unusual. Every promoter has plans for their primary fighters moving forward. But plans don't always work out. Ask Devin Haney. He had big plans for Devin Haney too. That did not work out well. So even the best of plans don't necessarily work out. I never said Norman is superior. I said Norman is a threat. No, you said Norman is a big draw, I think, on your video today. I would understand John as Norman fan, but Haney, well, stylistically, Norman is a more exciting fighter for sure. That's why he's on my must-watch list. But he's new and hasn't done much. So let's look at his resume right now and break that shit down. We'll go to fighters that we recognize. Oh, well, fuck. Not much, not much. 2021, not really anybody. Okay, we get to 2023 when he fought Quinton Randall, an undefeated fighter, 13-0-1, beat him by 10-round decision. Then he had a no contest against some kid, I don't know. And then he fought Giovanni Santillan, right? And this is why he wasn't hyped going into the Santillan fight, right? Against Coro, 8-round decision. Against Campos, 8-round decision. Against Randall, 10-round decision. Against this guy, no contest. 4 disappointing performances back to back to back. So when Top Rank threw him into this fight for this WBO interim world title, their plan was for Santillan, who beat Rocha on a cross-promotional fight card, to be the guy they won. But they figured, well, if Norman steps up, that's great, because so far he's disappointed. And if he loses, then we have every reason to cut him. because Top Rank was this close to fucking cutting his contract and sending that guy fucking to the showers. But he came out and fought fucking brilliantly against a one-dimensional fighter like Giovanni Santilian, who is not a fucking great fighter, no matter what John wants to tell you. 5'8", 68.5-inch reach. He's fucking almost the same size as fucking Regis Prograis, but not even fucking close to the knockout power at 53%. When you look at his best resume, Eric Bonet, old shot fucking fighter, Rocha, he was the underdog, upset the odds makers in winning a fight, right? And beat Julio Avila, okay. And then a bunch of guys, an old ass fucking Antonio fucking DeMarco went the distance, won a majority decision against an old ass Antonio DeMarco, right? And then fought Norman, got fucking closed off, fought an old, past his best, Lawson, and then this guy, Vila, who nobody's ever heard of, right? So, while I don't dismiss and downplay Norman, the fact is he doesn't have a great win on his resume. His best win is Santilian. Then he fought an unknown fighter in Derek Cuevas, destroyed him in 3 rounds. Then he fought fucking a guy I told you wasn't going to last 6 rounds against him, Jin Sasaki, because Jin Sasaki relies on landing power, has absolutely no fucking defense at all. And I said stylistically, he was all wrong for fucking Norman. And he knocked him out in 5 rounds, proving me correct. Fucking So to be fair, Haney potentially, right? When you look at the fact that Norman's fought nobody, no good boxers, no one that could actually box and move, the writing's on the wall. If Devin Haney's going to win, that's how he's going to win. He's going to have to box and move, clench and hold, and not fucking let Norman get comfortable, not let Norman fucking throw combinations, and not let Norman get into range where he feels comfortable enough to let his hands go. But right now, Norman feels like a champion and is acting like a champion. So it's not that easy. Easier said than done, as my grandfather used to say. Where are we? Where are we? I highly doubt the fight happens, Sean. The Haneys will snake their way onto a Pac or Barrios fight. Juiced up. Who's juiced up? Agree, I think Haney will wait Norman if he gets washed. Norman doesn't have any impressive resume, but we have to give him time. He's definitely looking like one of the most dangerous fighters in boxing. Yeah, and that's what I said. He's 24, and his resume and the level of opponents he's fought are pretty fucking limited. So based on that, you can understand why Haney and his father may see opportunities, right? Norman was young, so I don't hold that against him, accountable of his performances in the early 2000s. Norman is a top-tier fighter. So what you're saying is Devin beats him. No, I say I can see Devin outboxing him if that's the way he chooses to fight him. But it doesn't necessarily mean he's still going to win. He could still get caught, because the question is, what's his durability and lack of punching power going to look like at 147, right? If he was chinny at 135 against smaller, less impressive punchers, what the fuck's going to happen at 147, right? So that's why there's more to the story. That's why I think this is a great fight. I'm not dismissing and downplaying this fight. I think if this fight happens, it's a great fight. If both guys get to go to Saudi and make big bucks, sign the fucking fight. Do it. If Haney fights scared like he did in his last fight, Borman will win by UD. Norman. I think Norman's style would force Devin Haney to fight. Devin Haney will hold. When you're forced to fight, you clinch and wait for the ref to fucking break it up, and then you get back on your bicycle. Devin can't outbox Norman. Haney is not that talented. But Evan, you're so biased, man. You don't even know what you're talking about. Norman has never fought a boxer. He's never cut off the ring. He's never beat a guy who actually fucking had any skills at all. Everyone he's fought is one-dimensional, primarily standing in front of him. So how are you going to base Norman doing something we've never seen him do. And I'm not dismissing Norman and saying he couldn't do it, because with Devin Haney's chinny chin chin and lack of power, Norman might feel that he can just walk through everything fucking Devin Haney throws, take shots to fucking land shots. And that would be a difficult night for Devin Haney. Norman stops Haney in 7 or less. Norman is physically far more gifted. Yeah, but Evan, you proved your bias, so nobody really listens to you, because you're going to say he's more physically gifted based on what? Beating a bunch of mediocre fighters? Okay, congratulations. You sold me. You got it. Yeah, he's fucking the next Roy Jones. No, because no one gave that kid a shot against fucking Boots Ennis. He's just lucky Boots Ennis is no longer at 147. That left hook Norman landed shook Haney so hard he retracted his ass statement. Let's just hope this fight falls through. Let's hope so. It's a great fight. Like, really, at this point, who do Norman and Haney have to fight? Unless Hitchens moves up to the weight class. Literally, Teo showed that he's not fucking up for either one of those two fighters. And outside of that, who the fuck else is at the division? Right? Like, the best bet for both of them is one another, unless Hitchens moves up. And once again, Hitchens is more a Devin Haney fighter than he is anything else. Yeah, Haney got quiet after Norman stepped on Sasaki. Did he? Haney is the right style, but he probably doesn't have the physical attributes to get this done. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mr. T. I agree with that assessment. Why don't you want blacks fighting blacks, John? I think John was talking about this fight and saying he likes blacks fighting blacks. It feels different. It's better. The crowds are better. The fights are better. Even though I've also heard him say that he doesn't like blacks fighting blacks because, it seems like people are just pitting them against one another so that they don't have to fight him. So, I'm sure there's an argument for both ways. No one, all they have is each other. What do you think about my last comment? Where's your last comment, Hard Recoil? I don't see Haney performance against Regis special. I think his performance against Loma was most impressive, even though he fought smaller fighter and lost. Well, he showed that he could fight a different style against a smaller fighter. He really relied on that hook to the body. He wasn't able to land his jab. He was ineffective with his jab. That punch was taken away by Lomachenko. So the only punch he really landed regularly was the hook to the body. Literally, that was the one punch. And ironically enough, people that love Haney thought that you can totally win a fight by landing body punches. But then these same people don't want to give Canelo Alvarez credit for beating William Skull by only landing body punches. You can't make this shit up. Either you count body shots or you don't count body shots. You can't pick and choose when it matters. Falls through. I think he's saying he hopes the fight doesn't happen, Sean. Who? John? No. John was just making a video today fucking hyping it up. He would hate for this fight not to happen because this would only bring more criticism to Devin Haney. So because Norman hasn't fought a style like Haney, that means Haney has the style advantage. When has Haney ever fought someone like Norman? What elite boxer puncher who's younger than Haney has fought? Once again, here you are twisting the fucking apple cart. The reality is Devin Haney's resume is leaps and bounds better than fucking Norman. He's fought all kinds of different styles of fighters. Aggressive come forward fighters, fucking fighters that were boxers, lots of different fighters, pound for pound fighters like Lomachenko, right? Norman has literally fought fucking nobody. Nobody. You will never see Santillan again in the conversation for a world title fight because he's just not that fucking guy. He was lucky that Top Rank was moving him towards a WBO title like they do all their fighters, right? And luckily for him, he was right there because there was no fucking better fighter in position. But once Norman stepped up, that was all she wrote, right? Like Santillan is fucking, he wasn't supposed to be Rocha. So, and that's the best opponent on Norman's resume. But as I stated, Norman is young. We don't know how good Norman can be. Unlike you want to give a guy credit even though he hasn't earned it yet. Me, I have more of a wait and see approach. I don't dismiss and shit on Norman. I think he's got an exciting style. Stylistically, I like it. Boxer puncher, great. But I can't fucking blow smoke up his ass yet. If he goes in there and destroys Devin Haney, now you're cooking with gas. Now he can fucking fight a unification fight, potentially fucking take over the division, make 10 title defenses, being an undisputed champion at welterweight. And then we're going to have a whole new conversation about who Norman is. But he could also go in there. Devin Haney could fight like he did against Ramirez, win an ugly fucking fight, beating him to take his title to become a 3-weight world champion. Even though we don't like Devin Haney's performance and the way he fought, Devin Haney would become a 3-weight world champion. Brian Norman would be no longer a champion anymore, right? That's why fights are interesting, because different things can happen. Different outcomes can happen. I hope Norman knocks Devin Haney out, right? I hope Norman knocks Haney out and fucking, gets him out of the conversation and then gets a great win on his resume. And then hopefully continues to get great wins on his resume. But my hoping doesn't make it true. You still got to fucking do it. No matter how much I hope and pray, it doesn't mean I'm going to win the lottery tonight worth fucking 1.9 billion NT. I hope. And hopefully you guys hope for me that I won, because that would be nice. It would be great. Then you'd get to see me on YouTube even more, because I wouldn't even have to work anymore. And you would have nice, beautiful beach backgrounds for my videos. Wouldn't that be great? Mm-hmm. But let's move forward. Where are we? Damn right, Sean. I really hope Norman fights Haney, so Haney's run at world level will finally be over. Well, Evan, you really seem as if you hate Devin Haney. And it's okay not to be a fan of someone, but, you got to at least be fucking fair. And generally, you're far from fair. Gary Russell versus Richard Hitchens is the fight I want. Ed Boots versus Erickson Lubin. Man, Boots is in fucking line for a Virgil Ortiz fight, John. Aren't you fucking watching the news? Like, for some reason, you still act like Erickson Lubin is something worth watching. Not. Never. If you're fucking holding your fucking apple cart to him, it's going to be a long fucking life. Here you go. Tron Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, Bakoli Atama, Zepeda Cruz, Mimbili Lester Martinez. That would be another fucking incredible Saudi card. And that's if fucking Zepeda loses, I think. You can't sit there and talk up Ennis for his resume and then downplay Norman's. I don't sit here and talk up Boots' resume, because Boots too has a limited fucking resume. Never once did you hear me fucking praising Boots' fucking resume. Literally never. But his resume is fucking much better than Norman. What makes Stanionis better than Santillan? What win does Stanionis have that is better than Santillan? Stanionis beat that fucking Russian fighter that I loved and felt that he was going to beat Stanionis easily, and I was wrong. And now that guy's a trainer for other Russian fighters. That's a better win. Maybe not a better win than Rocha, but I guarantee you those two Russian guys would have beat Rocha and beat fucking Santillan. But the reality of the situation is Howard or Norman is the one that ducked fucking Boots Ennis. So everything you're saying could have been changed. The difference is that when Boots Ennis' team sent him an offer, they ducked. They ducked to fight Cuevas for fucking $100,000. So stop. Norman turned down 1.7 to fight Boots, his highest payday up to that point. was 250,000. Exactly. And what do you think he got versus Cuevas? Maybe fucking 500,000 if he was lucky. Bill would crash out again if that happens. Boots never accomplished anything to demand the vast majority of the purse. See, Evan, once again, you just exposed that you're fucking delusional. His team was offering. If fucking Top Rank and Bob Arum thought you were fucking all that, then they would offer fucking Boots and give you the higher percentage. They didn't because they don't think that highly of you. That's why they were going to fucking cut your contract if you didn't beat Santillan. And they were praying you weren't going to beat Santillan. They didn't think you were going to. But you did. So, congratulations. Now you're relevant. So get a Devin Haney fight and be even more relevant. But Boots is going to fight Virgil Ortiz. That fight, guaranteed, is going to be bigger than Norman versus Devin Haney. Easily. Why don't you and John do a 1-hour segment a week on each other's channel? That would be entertaining. I told John to do that, but John, John hates me because I'm white and, can't think logically. And he's also busy working. Early morning oil fields. And I live in Asia, so our times are a little different. First topic is Loma, a hype job. That's almost as stupid as fucking this comment this dumb motherfucker left today. Where's that stupid comment? From a stupid fucking troll on YouTube. You can't make this shit up. Wilder has more fights and more wins than Lomachenko. Wilder, in my opinion, should get in the Hall of Fame before Lomachenko. Wilder failed to beat Fury, but Lomachenko failed to become undisputed. So Lomachenko, a 3-weight world champion who was 3-belt unified and then re-won a title afterwards, never became undisputed. So somehow never becoming undisputed now is the end of Lomachenko as a Hall of Famer. But Wilder, who was a 1-belt champion, somehow that's more significant. And then, of course, this guy watches your channel, John. So, of course, he's got to bring Triple G into the conversation. What does Triple G have to do with Lomachenko, Deontay Wilder? But always like John, he always going to use fucking Golovkin when he tries to hate on non-black fighters and use Floyd Mayweather when he tries to hype up black fighters. Same fucking narrative every time. You can't just talk about fighters that are relevant today. You always need to deflect. He was a commodity in the fight. He was throwing Norman a bone by giving him 10 times his highest payday. Exactly. Or ish, Jared Ennis, Virgil is really happening. See, look at you. So you fucking think Devin Haney versus Norman is going to happen, but you don't think Jaron Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz is going to happen, even though Virgil's team Matchroom offered fucking Jaron Boots Ennis a contract that he turned down to fight Stanionis for unification, which you defended. Make that make sense. Andy Cruz deserves a better fight than Zepeda. No, he doesn't. What has Andy Cruz done? Zepeda is the best name on his resume. Cruz is an IBF mandatory for Muratalla. That's the fight. If Muratalla gets that title, why is he going to fight fucking Cruz? Why doesn't he fight fucking Abdullah Mason for unification? They're both top-ranked fighters. See, that fight makes more sense. In-house unification fight. And it brands a new superstar, a black American superstar. Top Rank is racist. They hate black fighters. They never show black fighters. I mean, Keyshawn Davis shot himself in the foot, not Top Rank. And now fucking Abdullah Mason is there to fucking catch all the accolades. Thank you very much, Keyshawn Davis. Right? And beating Muratalla to become unified at like 20 fucking years old. That's a pretty fucking great scenario for that kid to be in. Why does Andy Cruz come into the conversation? What's your pronouns? Your pronoun? Drop the link for John. I don't think that's even him. The white and black dynamic perspective, I think, would make the show fire. The white and black dynamic would make it more interesting, different perspectives. That's why I say, like Stephen A. Smith and what's his face, the old fucking dude from California. Not that it's a big deal. Wilder actually just split from Malik Scott today, it was reported. Really? What does that tell you? All the cap about Malik Scott this and fucking Malik blowing fucking smoke up Wilder's ass. He takes on a bum ass opponent. Sure, John, he's coming off of losses. He can take on a bum ass opponent. But why do you need to pay $80 fucking dollars to watch it on pay-per-view? That's the question you should ask yourself. It's not a fucking pay-per-view fight. Nobody cares. Nobody's gonna watch. And now fucking you get rid of your trainer. Why? Because you're just not fucking doing anything impressive in the gym. Never should have gone with that bum. Malik took a dive. Now how can you have respect to train him? Keyshawn blew both of his feet off. Man, I love Keyshawn, but I mean that was a boneheaded fucking play. Fucking dumping the weight and then fucking draping up your brother's fucking opponent, who I predicted was going to beat your brother. You think Abdullah would beat Raymond Muratalla? I think it's a quality fucking fight. Obviously, Raymond Muratalla is more experienced, solid fighter, really good. But if Abdullah Mason is what do we call it? What were they talking about on Gilbert's Arenas today? What do you call those athletes that come around once in a while? What kind of athlete? But if he's one of those kind of fighters, a Roy Jones-esque fighter, somebody of that nature, then this fight will only make him better. We will really see levels to Abdullah Mason's game when he steps up and takes on a better opponent. It's not like Raymond Muratalla is fucking, Alexis Arguello or something. He's a good fighter, and I would have loved to see him face Keyshawn Davis, and I felt Keyshawn Davis would totally fucking flatline him. So if I feel Keyshawn Davis would flatline him, I got to feel pretty comfortable that Abdullah Mason will beat him. Maybe not flatline him, maybe not destroy him. Maybe it'll be a close competitive fight, and he'll learn something because he is young. But if you want to then have to start talking about Keyshawn Davis, Tank Davis, Andy Cruz, you need to, yes, thank you very much, Wayne Evans, a generational talent. If he's a generational talent, then generational talents fucking rise, man. The cream rises to the top. Is it too early for him? I mean, let's be fair. Raymond Muratalla ain't all that, right? What's his best win? Tevin Farmer. Mark Breland got humiliated by him publicly. I still remember Mark's son having to come on YouTube platforms to defend him. Sad. It is sad because Mark Breland was a way better fighter than fucking Deontay Wilder ever was. Mark Breland, probably the best amateur American boxer in history, right? And then to be disrespected because your fighter is a fucking sore loser. And that's what he is, a sore fucking loser. The whole Glovegate shit, everything else, fucking all the excuses, ayahuasca. Oh my God. It's one excuse after a fucking another. Like if you're an athlete, losses are a part of fucking sports. Michael Jordan lost, got cut off the fucking varsity team, right? People lose, and then you take that motivation and you get better. Is Nakatani fighting Cardenas? I like it, but the dude is coming off a stoppage loss. Yeah, David, come on. Now you're just being silly. Think about the whole situation. It's a Mexico versus Japan card with the buildup of a fucking historic Japanese fucking face-off between Inoue and Junto Nakatani. Inoue is going to be facing his mandatory Picasso, who ducked him, which is why Cardenas got the fight. Cardenas fought great. Everyone was very impressed by him. So now he goes in and fights Junto moving up to 122. We get to see if Junto can do something more impressive than fucking Inoue. And if Junto wins, doesn't get dropped, and looks even more sensational, the hype behind Junto and Inoue is going to be fucking unbelievable. People are going to start picking Junto as the favorite over fucking the monster, right? Just because of one common opponent on the undercard of an Inoue fight. So it's fucking a great card. I think it's a great setup. You can't criticize Cardenas, a guy that jumped in fucking. I think he might have even been a late opponent, right, as a replacement for Picasso. So did he even have like a full training camp and the perfect opportunity to get prepared? Now he gets another great payday and another big opportunity. If he beats Junto, you know, then New he'll probably go fight Nick Ball, and Cardenas can try to become a 122-pound title champion. Where are we? But I think it's great. I hope it happens. Oh yeah, I agree that Vladimir Shishkin agreed to fight Iglesias. Fight will be in September. That's a good fight. That is a good fight. Jake Paul is generational talent to earn more than real pro fighters. Well, sometimes marketing is fucking great. Marketing is everything. Just ask Coca Cola. I thought Shishkin should have beat Skull. Had the same issues with him that Canelo did. Unlike Canelo, though, he almost actually stopped him. What was the crazy excuse you heard in boxing? The Wilder Glovegate stuff or Kid Austin team excuses for not making it to the Skull fight? Fucking Wilder. My costume was too heavy. My costume was too heavy. My costume was too heavy. I'm going to try and put the blame on Mark, but not the dipshit who watches Fury get his hands wrapped. JD's, exactly. It is interesting, though, yes, Nakatani and Cardenas. Oh, fun fight. He used gypsy magic. What was the greatest excuse in all the combat sports history? I see where Shishkin agreed to fight Iglesias. My bad, fight. He used gypsy magic on me. It's a great excuse in combat sports history. Well, I don't know if it's a great excuse because that's the same thing people said about Manny Pacquiao's mother. Remember Manny Pacquiao's mother doing fucking black magic on them? I can't remember which fighter that was, but that excuse had been used a lot in sports. So it's nothing new. But we got some great fights coming the rest of this year. I'm supposed to go to the beach this weekend with a girl, but if she doesn't fucking send me a message tonight, I'm not going because I'm going to watch boxing with you guys on Sunday. Because that's the kind of guy I am. Right? Like, I just don't understand people. You're online, but you just can't fucking move your ass to make a plan. I don't know. What? You don't remember? Fucking somebody saying that Manny Pacquiao's mother did black magic on them and it showed her like at the ring all fucking doing some crazy shit. So then that became the big fucking soundbite. Yeah. It is what it is. It's that fucking black magic. I would play the song right now, but of course YouTube will get upset, so I'll sing it. She's a black magic woman. She's a black magic woman. She's a black magic woman. Blah, 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 blah. I can't remember all the words without the music playing. Sorry. But there's my solo for tonight. Do you understand how badly you got to get your ass beat to blame Magic? Magic Johnson? Yeah. He gave me AIDS. That's blaming Magic. What's your pronouns? What's your pronouns? Man, this is a question nobody wants to hear. Because, John, this is woke America. I heard Fannin talking about how ESPN is fucking racist. Yet ESPN is the most woke fucking network on boxing. Oh, that was the Tim Bradley fight. There you go. I couldn't remember who. I was thinking Margarito or Cotto. But like ESPN is the most woke network on sports. Everyone is a woman. Everyone is black. Like you cannot watch a fucking show that doesn't have a black woman on the fucking panel. And to be fair, I love women. I think whenever a beautiful woman is on TV, I enjoy it a lot. Unfortunately, not all those women are beautiful. Most of them are lesbians, so that doesn't necessarily win me over. But the truth is, I don't really fucking care about listening to women talk about sports for the most part, because the majority of them don't really have anything fucking interesting to say. Call me old, call me sexist. That's okay. I'm not a racist, but maybe I'm sexist. That happened to Bradley. Pacquiao beat Barrios at 46 years old, 4 years inactive. Will that rank over Foreman's win at 45 over Moore? No. You got to think about, well, I guess in fairness, maybe it would, because Foreman had tons of fights and preparation for that fight. Pacquiao's been off 4 years. It's more like Sugar Ray Leonard fighting Hagler, right? Coming off of 3 years of retirement, not having any fights, jumping in to face the baddest man in the weight division, and then dance circles around him. But see, the thing about Sugar Ray Leonard, I'm not being a hypocrite, he boxed and moved like crazy. But whenever he had an opportunity to let his hands go, he fucking threw flurries of combinations, right? That's the problem with these slick boxers today. They don't do that. Like, that's all you need to do to steal rounds and actually entertain people. 3 times during a round, you stop and throw a 6 or 8 punch fucking combination. And then you get back on your bike behind your jab. Stop, boom, 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 and then fucking get out, right? You do that shit, you're going to have a lot less fucking hate about being boring in a runner. Sorry, I had to. It's just a joke. What's yellow? Yellow Ninja. Moore was undefeated, lineal champion that just beat Holyfield. That's also a Hall of Famer that win a lot better than Barrios. Yeah. If Barrios loses to Manny, he needs to be sent to the gulag. Well, he just cashed in that $1 million check. So I think, it is what it is. If he was really interested in actually doing anything for his career, he would have, he would have been more busy actually taking on opponents. But he chose to do what? Hold up the division by holding up the WBC title, not fighting fucking anybody. Kind of like Fonduro. But people said Lomachenko was holding up the division. Yeah, okay. Canelo's holding up the division. Hi, are you okay? What are you doing? Elder abuse. It is elder abuse, eh? Me roughing up Lily. Elder abuse. Oh, yeah, there's a smile. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? So what do you think, Lily? Who you got? Norman or Haney? You're thinking about it, eh? Okay, you think. Loma was holding up the division, though. No, he wasn't. Nobody else in the division was fucking fighting each other. Tank Davis been holding up the division ever since he got there. Never fought one other fucking top-level fighter. It's a new day. UFC pound-for-pound, ring boxing pound-for-pound rankings combined only have one black American on it, which is Bud. Oh, really? It's hard to watch Manny's old face getting smashed again. Well, that's the problem, right? Like watching fucking Jake Paul fight Mike Tyson. It was hard to watch. Nobody likes to see somebody they grew up fucking watching and who's a living legend fucking be embarrassed in the ring. It was fucking hard to watch. It was kind of reminds me, as I said multiple times, watching Leonard fight Larry Holmes. That shit was terrible. Or not Leonard, sorry, Ali. Or when Ali fought Trevor Burbick. Also very hard to watch as well. Right, Lily? Here, go. Take it easy. Upsy daisy. Good girl. You can do it. You still got some life in those old legs. He was holding up the IBF belt. Literally no one in that division wanted to unify except Stevenson. Well, he did talk about unifying with Tank Davis. Unfortunately, when he flew to fucking sign the contract, he decided to say fuck it and walked away. See, people say he ducked, but you got to ask yourself, why would you negotiate, get stuff all fucking set, so you actually fly to the States to sign a contract, only to get there and then fucking walk away and basically retire afterwards? Because something about the contract was fucking shit. But of course, Tank Davis fans and Lomachenko haters are just gonna fucking use it as a way to hate on Lomachenko, right? But the fact is, Tank Davis is the one who years ago told you he was gonna fucking age Lomachenko out. And at that point, maybe Lomachenko saw it, felt it, and was like, dude, I don't need you. You need me. You ain't paying me right. You're fucking playing A-side bullshit, but you fucking need me. Go fuck yourself. I don't need to do anything. I'm going to retire. Bye. And that's what he did. The money was probably funny. I think so. Right? Because Tank Davis, who has Tank Davis fought that he's ever paid? See, people compare Tank Davis to Canelo Alvarez and talk about how he's the face of American boxing. The clear difference is when Canelo Alvarez wants to fight someone, the fight gets made. Whether he needs to cross over to another platform, another fucking promotional team, which he's done on several occasions to make fights, or pay guys far more money than they deserve to get them to step in the ring. With Tank Davis, if he really wants those fights, like Knockout Boxing always says he does, how come none of those fights have ever fucking happened? Never unified against anyone at 130. And those dudes were fucking D-side, man. You could have paid those guys $1.5 million. It would have been career high payday for fucking every single one of them. They all would have jumped at it. Or $3 million at the most. But never made any unification fights with any of them. Because his team is greedy. They want to take all the money and fight fucking mediocre opponents that they can get easy wins over. They don't want to take challenges. They don't want to pay for big fighters and fucking split the cash. The only person they split the cash with was fucking Ryan Garcia, because he helped bring the cash in to make the fight the biggest fight of Tank Davis's career. Tank priced himself out. You literally have videos and articles of Tank, no, blah, 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 fight Loma, but delusional race fans still spin it as Loma ducked him. They believe their own lies. No rush. Well, that's it. No rush. He's in no rush. Loma's old. He's got to fight us. We don't got to fight him. That's what they said. And then when it came to the point, Loma said, I'm old. I don't need to fight you. You need to fight me. Karma's a bitch. Go fuck yourself. Now you're going to go fight Jake Paul. How's that going to work for your legacy? Right? Like, and why isn't that Lamont Roach fight signed yet? Because Tank Davis, like Floyd Mayweather, is coming off the juice, and they know that fucking testing don't start till the contract gets signed. So they sign the contract as late as possible so they can get all that drugs out of their system. John, you know it. I know it. But you just want to believe everyone that cheats is not black. Blacks can do no wrong. No wrong. John must really be upset about fucking Carmel Anthony fucking going to jail for 25 years for murder. Because John's one of those guys that's going to justify Carmelo Anthony stabbing and make it sound like it's the white guy's fault. Because it's always white people's fault. It's always my fault. It's always my fault. It's always our fault. Everything bad. It's all because of me. Sorry. But not sorry. I'm never going to say sorry for fucking something that I had nothing to do with. Ever. I got no white guilt. None. Zero. Zilch. Why would I? I've never done anything to a brother or a sister in a negative way in my entire life. Actually, a lot of sisters would say good things I did for them. But we'll leave that to another video. Devin was too big for Tank. Jake Paul should be way too big, right? Well, you would think, right? Jake Paul's a fucking cruiserweight. You've been talking about race since you started this live. I haven't nothing about race in your chat. What race was I talking about this live? We've mostly been talking about boxing. I might throw some digs your way, but that's all it is, John. Friendly digs. Well, what race stuff have I been talking about? We're talking about Norman and Devin Haney. I don't think race fucking ever came up in the conversation, right? Talking about Boots versus Virgil Ortiz, you tried to make it sound like that fight was fucking ish and wasn't going to happen. That's a prime fight for talking about race because it's the whole reason people have been pushing that fight for years now because Mexico versus Black America. I didn't bring up race. Right now, I brought up race only to fucking give you the gears because literally, John, you fucking just hated on Canelo Alvarez using PEDs because David Benavidez told you. You just made that video, John. Like, come on, John. Every video you do is race. You can talk about how great a win Norman had, and then you're going to make it into some race thing when race has nothing to do with it. You don't have to in this chat. You do enough in yours. It's insanity to justify a murder because of race. But that's what people were doing. I never hear fucking people the other way fucking justifying it. No, I was surprised that Boots versus Virgil was happening. But why would you be surprised? They already offered Boots Ennis a contract before, and when people said Boots fucking ducked, you got emotional and jumped all over it. So the fight was already on the table a long time ago. Some Boots fans say Virgil brings no belt, so why fight him? I hate marinating fights. This fight is too good to pass up. That's true. There is no title on the line. But let's be honest. A fight of this magnitude, a title doesn't mean anything. Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney didn't have a fucking title, but they were going to rematch. When they first fought, there was no title on the line for their first fight. So why is there some significance about a world title now? I understand for Bud Crawford titles being on the line and that being significant because he's trying to do something historic. But these guys, if they're getting paid $5 million to fight each other and there's no fucking belt online except whatever, some WBC belt, because you know the WBC will make a belt, who gives a shit? Right? Like, who cares? I thought Boots was fighting the Russian. Ruslan? The problem with Ruslan is it's dangerous and you're not going to make nearly as much money. You're offered big money to fight fucking Ortiz because Ortiz, like you, is also getting fucking fucked over by the BBC, right? The only guy he can really fight is Murdazaliev, a dangerous fighter for low money. So you might as well fight fucking Boots. Don't matter if there's no title on the line. It's a big money fight. Fucking pride is on the line. That fight's going to get great fucking attention in America because racist fucking Mexican Americans and racist Black Americans going to fucking be all over it. Going to be crazy. Guy's going to be all over it. Slinging racial slurs left, right, and center. That's the fucking kind of fight people love. Is Boots versus Ortiz official? Not official, but when you see like a picture like this, the one I showed you, like that comes from fucking Turkey, man. Like obviously it doesn't necessarily mean everything has been signed, sealed, and delivered, but it's a good indication what way the wind is blowing. It doesn't mean all those fights in the card are going to happen. Often with those cards, some fights fall through and other fights replace them, right? And we know Ortiz is up for it. Ortiz always up for big fights. I mean, if we want to praise Devin Haney for always being up for fights, how come, John, you never praise Virgil Ortiz? Because Virgil Ortiz is literally in line to fight everyone. Literally, he jumped at an opportunity to fight Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu pulled out of the fight. He jumped at opportunities to fight everybody. Right? That dude is up for everyone. Then he offered fucking Boots a contract. Boots is the one that walked away from the fight. You might not like him because he's not black, but that dude, he shows you he just wants to fight the best fighters out there. So hats off to him too. Is Boots versus Ortiz official? Not yet, but from everything I've heard, and I've heard it from several places, It seems that that is the fight that's in negotiation right now. And think about it for Boots Ennis as well. You just unified against Stanionis. There's no big fights for you at 147. You go to 154 because they already offered you a big fight. So you know that fight's on the table. And you figure now you're a unified champion at welterweights. So maybe now you have even more leverage to fucking get more money, right? So I think the title, it's irrelevant. It's raining like a motherfucker outside. But that's a great card. Let's see what else is going on. Let me share this. This is from Left Hook Boxing, or sorry, Bad Left Hook. And obviously, we can't believe everything we see, but you accuse Virgil of ducking Terence Crawford. Yeah, I also accused Boots of ducking Bud Crawford. I also accused Danny Garcia of ducking him. I also accused Spence of ducking him. I also accused fucking the Cuban. Who's the Cuban? The Cuban guy for ducking him. So, come on. Everyone at 147 was ducking Bud Crawford. That's just a fucking reality. So don't try to fucking turn it against Virgil. If Wilder wins, do you like an AJ fight next? Based on beating this bum ass guy that got knocked out by Richard Torres. So do I want to see Richard Torres fight AJ? No. Do I want to see Wilder fight AJ? Not right now. If he would have won against Parker, then that fight would have made sense. But he lost to Parker. He got knocked out by fucking the slow Chinese man who got beat by fucking the Turkish German fighter. I'd rather see Wilder fight Andy fucking Ruiz. Two Americans, two ex-world champions. Both fucking dudes are inactive in a fight that's been talked about for a long time. I'd rather see him fight Jared Big Baby Anderson if he beats Big Baby. I'd rather see AJ fight Fury, obviously. It's the biggest fight in boxing. Turkey making all these good fights, but some fans don't like it. Obviously because it doesn't favor and help their favorite fighters to cherry pick easy opponents or run to wins. That's the only explanation. See, you might criticize John and all this and that, but at least he's pro-Turkey and the fight's being made. So hats off, John. Because all these other dusty motherfuckers, I don't know how you can call yourself a boxing fan when you're not excited by all the fucking boxing that's being made. Shit's fucking everywhere. We're getting great fights constantly. I mean, what's not to like? As a boxing fan, boxing has never been as good as it is now. Boxing has never been as good as it is now. Let me repeat. Boxing has never been as good as it is now. Never. It's never been as good. Never. Never. That's not a nickname I'd want. Big Baby versus Big Baby. As I said, we'll see who shits their diaper. Who should have Small Baby name? Well, the loser, right, will get Small Baby. If you lose, you're no longer Big Baby. You're fucking Small Baby with the dirty diaper. I hope fucking Anderson wins because at least he can be relevant once again in the American boxing circle. If he loses to Big Baby, that dude's fucking done. 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 Fucking so much promise, never fulfilled. You know, that's unfortunate with the American boxing fucking fighter. So many of these guys have tons of potential and never fulfill it. Turkey is making boxing great again, or at least for now. And that's all you need to worry about. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But right now, boxing is better now than it's ever been. Nobody can tell me a time in boxing that's better than now because there's never been a better time. More fights, more matchups, more money in the sport. I mean, more networks showing the sport. I mean, shit. It's on Netflix for fuck's sakes. Netflix. I mean, something's got to be going well if boxing is on Netflix. That's all I'm saying. But let me share my screen. There we go. Shared in Memorex. Let me just make it bigger so you guys can see better. There we go. So, Brian Norman versus Devin Haney, targeted for November. Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney have reportedly agreed to square off later this year, as reported by Bad Left Hook, Brian Scumberg. June 25th at 4:23. Lance Pugmire reported the WBO welterweight champion Brian Norman Jr. has verbally agreed to face Devin Haney later this year, potentially in November. Man, what else to say? Grievously boring. You got to highlight that. Remains frontrunner of Knockout of the Year. A grievously boring decision over a faded Ramirez. Oh my God. You highlight some stuff and it just is terrible for the fighters. This is a do or die for Haney and a chance for Norman to introduce himself to the general boxing public. With Mario Barros occupied and the WBA and IBF belts in need of new owners, I like the matchmaking here. Who doesn't? It's great. Great matchmaking. This is all you have to say. Nothing could be better than this. This is great matchmaking. And as I said, it's must win for Devin Haney. But not so much for Norman. If he was to lose to Devin Haney, it would not be the end of his career, because he's probably not going to get knocked out by Devin Haney. This fight would be great if it really happens. Norman Sr. and Bill Haney were on a few shows together yesterday and seemed positive about fighting. Yes, I saw them going back in heated debate, but that's neither here nor there. But thanks everyone for jumping in. I'm going to take a shower. Hot and humid all day, and I'm feeling dusty and greasy. And of course, John says I'm the dirtiest fucking guy on YouTube. I don't know, John. Can you smell me from here? I smell pretty good, even though I've been working all day. Xiang. Smell good, not bad. But thanks everyone for jumping in. Is Devin Haney on your pound for pound list now? No, he's not. After a dusty performance against Ramirez, disappointing performance against Ryan Garcia, how can I put him on a pound for pound list, especially after being out of the ring for 1 year? I know he's number 2 on John's fucking pound for pound, but not on my, based on his last 2 performances. Exactly. Pound for pound lists are not career fucking achievement lists. They continuously change and evolve based on fights and activity. Sorry. But thanks for watching. Leave your comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you next time. This Sunday, live.